I want to hurt him.
Yeah.
That's my mentality right now going into this fight, because I really want to do damage.
He's definitely gonna get punched on. I feel like, you know, he's a lot of heart. He's a lot of heart, and I think that's why he switched back. He had the Cuban coach, and I feel like that wasn't gonna work out well for him, because I mean, he can't learn that type of style that, you know, the Cuban coach is teaching. That's more cultural, more, you know, rhythm and things like that, and things that I feel like he don't have. You know, he's a more of a, you know, kung fu fighter, you know, hard, you know. And, you know, I feel like he's pretty good. He's good. You know, he beat Terrell Goucher. You know, he beat Tony Harrison. You know, I think he beat them on the back end of their career. But, you know, I feel like this supposed to be his coming out party against me, so I'm super excited.
I'm expecting the Errol Spence was fighting.
Yeah.
Kell Brook back in the days, you know, that type of fighter, but we shall see. You know, that's
the long-awaited face-off between Errol Spence Jr. and Tim Tszyu quickly took a serious turn. As soon as they began talking to each other, the respectful atmosphere disappeared and was replaced by strong determination and an intense desire to prove who was better.
Monotone, but he's very good at that.
Yeah.
You know, and it drowns you.
Yeah.
He's got a very stiff jab, and the jab is very consistent. So I think that's probably going to be the hardest part. But yeah, this fight is going to be a relentless style for me. Looking to just bring the heat.
Yeah.
And let's see if he can match it.
Yeah.
Man, I really don't care. I mean, I'm excited. I dream about stuff like this, man. You know, it kind of give me chills now, coming out and everybody booing. That give me more pumped up than anything. People booing, throwing stuff, you know, angry. That really takes the nervousness out of me. Like, I'm not nervous anymore. Like, people booing and saying things and yelling and screaming. That's like the movies we used to watch as kids, old Spartan movies and stuff. Like, you going to war. So, you know,
Tszyu held nothing back during the exchange. Staring Spence right in the eyes, he said this return would leave him with one lasting regret. He claimed Spence should have taken an easier fight first instead of jumping in against a man eager to remind everyone that he remains one of the biggest threats in the 154-pound division. Still, Spence was not about to stay silent after hearing those remarks.
You can expect all-out war. Me, I think a one-sided fight. I think he's going to give it everything that he has, but I'm definitely going to put on a great show and show the fans of Australia, show the world that Errol the True Spence is back, and y'all will respect me after this fight.
In your mind, I know we said about breaking Errol, but in your mind, you must feel like this doesn't see 12 rounds on your side.
For sure. That's what I'm going for.
I was reading an interview done with Sporting News Australia, I think, and you said about beating him better than Crawford did. Is that also the mentality in your mind as well?
Well, that's his last hooray that he had, you know? I want him to come back to the memories and do it quicker.
He quickly answered back and said with confidence that Tszyu would not make it past the third or fourth round. That level of confidence only comes from a fighter who still believes he belongs at the top no matter what he has faced over the last few years. And that is exactly why this fight has everyone talking. Spence has not stepped into the ring since losing to Terence Crawford in 2023. After being out of action for almost 3 years, most fighters would have picked an easier opponent to shake off the rust. Errol decided to take a much tougher path. Without a doubt.
No doubt. Vomac, I just want to ask you a couple things in boxing. How do you see the Errol Spence Tim Tszyu fight playing out, man?
Oh man, that's gonna be a great fight. If Errol gonna be himself, he should win. But we don't know what he got left.
Yeah.
So, but if Tim come in and be himself, he'll push Errol to the edge.
Do you think that's like a true 50-50 fight, like a crossroad fight for both those guys?
No, I don't think so. I think Errol probably will.
Think Errol?
Yeah, I think he probably will.
I say you still got the juice. He did 200,000-300,000 views in a week or whatever it's been, 2-3 weeks, and the episode is still climbing, but I'm seeing all the reaction. I'm seeing all the headlines. I'm seeing all the stuff. I say, Errol, you still got the juice, because the boxing community, sports community, they leaning in saying, man, what is Errol Spence talking about, man? I want to lean in. And the takeaway was 90% solid, but we just wanted to address the 10%. We don't always like to address the 10%. We shouldn't address the 10%. Matter of fact, we should walk past the 10% most of the time, but every now and again, we got a little bit of time. And today,
instead of choosing an easier path, he took on one of the hardest opponents he could face. That choice shows he still believes the best version of Errol Spence is still there and ready to remind everyone in boxing who he really is. At the same time, Tszyu is not concerned about past titles or what Spence achieved before. He respects him for taking the fight, but feels this return has come at the worst possible moment for the former champion. That is why this matchup is so risky. Both men are full of confidence. One believes his experience and championship background will carry him back to the top, while the other is certain he is about to end one of boxing's biggest comeback stories before it even gets started. All of a sudden, July 26th no longer feels like just another fight night. It feels like two careers colliding with everything on the line.
he said, still wishing Errol Spence the best in his upcoming fight. I see what y'all are trying to do. We a lot smarter than y'all realize. He said, but it's not going to work. Not this time. I appreciate that from Terence Crawford. And I called Errol and I said, Errol, hey man, focus on the 90%, bro. Don't focus on them 10% because the 10% can seem very, very loud. I don't understand where they coming from. I said, but we, your peers and the people that get it, we respect you, bro, because that was the biggest moment of your professional boxing career that had been talked about for years. And it didn't go your way. That was a devastating loss. And you took that, you shouldered that like a man, and you never made one excuse. All we did was sit and talk about it and have a real conversation. And we invited the world in to our personal conversation. So Errol did nothing wrong. Errol didn't make any excuses.
Then the story became even more interesting. Soon after Spence and Tszyu exchanged knockout predictions during their heated face-off, Terence Crawford joined the discussion without saying anything disrespectful, but still managed to make the moment feel even bigger. The first thing that caught everyone's attention was how quickly Bud made his support clear. He confirmed that he would be traveling to Australia to stand behind Spence. And honestly, that deserves respect because too many people act like friendships no longer matter once competition enters the picture.
Dog, you got anything in closing? Anything we didn't have?
Nah. Just I'm definitely a fan of boxing. You know, I'm gonna be in Australia. I'm gonna be.
I know you're gonna be over there. Yeah,
I'm gonna be supporting Spence, rooting him on.
Yeah.
You know, I just like to support fighters in his own right. I didn't been in Boots locker room supporting him. So it's just crazy how the tables turn. When people get to a certain plateau and they forget about things like that.
We picking Earl?
Crawford said that he will always be a boxing fan before anything else. He reminded people that he has supported many fighters over the years and believes loyalty should not disappear just because some people on the internet do not agree. He even laughed and said that after all the talk they will probably have to meet Tszyu face to face. But that is simply part of the sport. And honestly, that is the way it should be. You can pick a winner without turning it into something personal. Crawford also pointed out that fans in other countries often disagree respectfully. While some people take a prediction as a personal attack, that is a completely reasonable point to make.
Look him in the eyes like, yo, I know you heard everything I said, so.
I told him to his face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's cool. It's cool to be, see, and this is what I don't understand why people take it so hurtful. When we in like England and places like that, or overseas, like they tell you, and it's okay, like, hey, you're a great fighter, but I think he's gonna win. Afterwards, it's all cool. It's just a opinion that they have.
People spend so much time debating opinions that they forget nobody really knows what will happen once the first bell rings. Crawford also made it clear that if your prediction is wrong, you should accept it, congratulate the winner, and move forward instead of searching for excuses. More fans should think that way. Looking at the bigger picture, one thing stands out. Even people deeply involved in boxing believe this fight is extremely hard to predict. Crawford feels Spence still has enough left to get the job done despite being away from the ring for so long. At the same time, many others believed Tszyu's recent fights and momentum give him the edge. That is exactly the type of debate that creates memorable fight nights. When those within the sport cannot agree on who will win, you know something special may be about to happen.
The other way, I said, hey, I wasn't in that man's camp. I don't know what he was up to. I wasn't with him the night before his fight. I don't know what he was up to. When he went,
That's an excuse. You make an excuse.
When he went in the ring and did something I didn't think he was gonna do, I ain't know.
No, you gotta just say I was wrong. Just say I was wrong. Congratulations.
Hey, be easy, bud. We'll see you next week.
Then Brian Mendoza added a completely different view to the conversation. While Crawford backed Spence because of friendship and confidence, Mendoza brought something even more important, which is first-hand experience. He has actually been in the ring with Spence, and that gives his opinion real value. What stood out the most was Mendoza dismissing the idea that Spence is coming back only for one last payday. According to Brian, that is not the fighter he knows. He said every sparring session became tougher because Spence would make adjustments overnight. Imagine landing a perfect shot one day and finding out it no longer works the next because your opponent has already solved the problem. That is not the mark of a fighter past his best. It shows his boxing intelligence is still at an elite level. Mendoza also reminded fans of something many have forgotten. Before Spence became known for his non-stop pressure and punishing body shots, he was an Olympic-caliber boxer with outstanding technical ability.
Errol Spence, for those that think that he's done, he's just showing up for a check. I've heard that a lot. A lot of people critiquing. He's not working like someone that's showing up for a check. The work ethic I got to see in the couple weeks I was there, and obviously just from literally being in the ring with him, sharing the ring, working with him, there was adjustments every day. He's not someone that's just showing up and just, clocking in and be like, all right, let's go through the motions and do the same thing. He was making adjustments. I was catching him with shots the first day we sparred. The second day we sparred, those shots were not landing. I had to figure something else out.
Errol Spence.
Exactly. Yeah. People forget, they know he's a pressure fighter. He likes to work the body. He tries to.
That attacking style became his signature because it worked so well, not because it was the only skill he had. I think that is an important point because when a fighter dominates in one way, people often forget about all the other abilities he still has. Mendoza also tested Spence's toughness and admitted he landed some hard shots without seeing him break down. That definitely caught attention. Of course, sparring and an actual fight are completely different, and nobody should treat them as the same thing. Even so, first-hand experience means a lot. The comment that stayed with me the most was Mendoza saying training camp is more like a game of chess than just a fight. Fighters do not give praise like that very often. He left Houston believing Spence is still working to get better every single day instead of simply trying to protect his legacy. So while many people view this comeback as a final chapter, Mendoza sees something completely different. A former champion quietly rebuilding himself while everyone else is trying to finish the story before it is over.
Locking in, trying to show up for a check and trying to be like, oh, let's see what we can do. Like he's fully locked in. He cares about improving each and every day. And that's what I respected. And, at the end of the day, I even told him, when I was leaving that, I appreciate him having me out, that it was just fun, being in that type of high level chess match again, where I can't just, I'm not just using the same bag of tricks every day. I have to go home from the sparring and think about, okay, well, what am I going to do next time? You caught me with this. Those are signs of someone that is really thinking still.
Then Greg Hackett took the conversation in a different direction after Brian Mendoza shared what he experienced inside the ring. Greg wanted to focus on everything happening outside of it. Interestingly, he had no interest in choosing a side just because he was being interviewed. What stood out right away was the respect he showed for both Errol Spence and Derrick James. Even so, he believes a lot of the criticism aimed at the trainer ignores the bigger picture. His message was simple. When a fighter goes into the biggest fight of his career, while dealing with injuries, a coach is no longer working under ideal circumstances. That is something many fans forget. Hackett kept coming back to one word: accountability. His point was clear. A trainer can teach, prepare, and make adjustments, but once a fighter leaves the gym, every choice they make becomes their own responsibility.
Get sharp. Everyone step on the gas. We also got to hold back because he injured. We don't want him to be more injured by the time we get to the fight. So, I think it plays a part more on Earl than it did Derrick James, because you already hurt. And on top of that, Derrick James is not responsible for when you leave the gym. That's not his. Whatever you do outside the gym, that's not his fault. You know what I'm saying? When you was in that car and you banged out and all that, that's
Who do you think will win this fight? Share your prediction in the comments and join the conversation. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to Boxing Alert for more boxing news and the latest updates. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.